Good morning, everyone. We'll get started. My name is Scott. Welcome to New Hampshire Motor Speedway. We have a very special and exciting announcement that we'd like to bring to you. I'd like to introduce four distinguished guests. Sir, you may recognize most of them, but from my left to right, we have Laura Bunting from Miller Lite, New England. She's the field marketing manager. We have Kevin Emmons, the vice president and marketing director of Amoskeag Beverages. Jerry Gappens is with us. He's the executive vice president and general manager of New Hampshire Motor Speedway. And Brad Keselowski, the driver of the number 2 Miller Lite Ford and the current points leader in the NASCAR chase. We are thrilled to have everybody here. And let me turn it right over to Laura for today's announcement.
Thank you very much, and good morning to everybody. Well, on behalf of Miller Lite and Amoskeag Beverages, I just wanted to announce our continued partnership with New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Miller Lite has actually been the official beer sponsor for the last 4 years, to which we have recently renewed our contract for 3 more years. So we're real excited about this extended partnership locally, as well as even our national partnership with Brad.
Laura, thank you. Kevin Emmons, share with us your thoughts about this day and what it means for you.
This is great, certainly for our local distributorship, which is Amoskeag Beverages. The track's been very good to us. Jerry and his marketing folks have treated us great over the years. And it's just great to have such an affiliation with Brad, being in the place that he is now and where he always has been, and the PR that he's done for us in the past. So thank you, Brad, and thank Jerry, and thanks, Laura.
Jerry Gappens, you know, in the business of racing, this is a significant relationship. What does it mean to you and to the Speedway?
Well, it's fun to do business with people that you like, and we have fun meetings. We go to conference rooms and we get some work done. But when we were sitting and talking about the renewal a few weeks ago, and next year's our 25th anniversary, and they were like, "Wow, I can't believe it's been that long." And we've done some innovative things together. You look at the Miller Lite Lobster Lounge. You know, it's basically a sports bar that we set up 2 times a year for our race fans, and that's become a real successful initiative that we've done together. And when we're in the meetings, we really like looking at things we can do to work with the fans and enhance the fan experience. And then the flip side of it is, from a business standpoint, I go out to the campgrounds every night and the product's getting consumed. So I figured that, so it seems to, so if you can do business, have fun doing business, and in this case, sell product and work it all together and make the fans happy, it's a great situation, and I'm really pleased that we've all come together to move forward, and we talked about some great things that we'll announce later that will really be a lot of fun for the fans and the people that support NASCAR here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway.
Before we turn it over to Brad, Jerry, just one quick follow-up. The Light Lobster Lounge seems like it's been a smashing success. Been around for a few years now.
It has, and we got live entertainment there at night. You never know who you're going to see in there. It might be a lobster even in there, but it's kind of unique to New England. It's a concept we came up with about 4 or 5 years ago, and of course, these fine folks recognized the branding opportunity there and put it with it, and it's really elevated it, and it just keeps getting more and more successful, and it's kind of fun to go in there and hang out.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Brad, why don't you grab the microphone? You're under no pressure whatsoever to say that New Hampshire Motor Speedway is by far your favorite track. But, you know, this is a valuable relationship, but you're coming off of a sweep here last July. Obviously, this track must mean a lot to you. Share with your thoughts.
Well, it does. You know, concerning the partnership, you know, I think I was looking at that picture right there behind that woman. You don't have to move, but of Rusty Wallace winning the first race here, and you know, Miller has some deep ties to this track in this region, and it's great to see that and be a part of perpetuating it. So, you know, hopefully we can keep that up and get to victory lane this weekend. We've got a great car, great shot. We're in a great spot in the season, and I think, you know, with this relationship and racing, you know, we go track to track, town to town, and you know, 30 some races a year, and we go to some of the tracks twice, but you oftentimes don't really have a home track. You know, for me, Michigan is the closest it comes, but I always feel like when Miller Coors sponsors a track, that's kind of like my own home track. So that makes Loudon a fun place to come when you see the billboard pulling in with the Miller Coors stuff. And you know, some of the years it's had the cars, and I know Las Vegas is that way as well, and a couple other tracks. But those that makes you feel special. And Bristol, I think, has the big billboard when you pull in. But all of these tracks, with the partnership with Miller Coors that they have, I think is a win-win situation, whether that's branding or consumption. I know the Lobster Lounge is a personal favorite of my crew guys, and I might have a conversation with Jerry about overconsumption Saturday night by a few of them. So either way, we have a lot of fun with this relationship. We're looking forward to getting racing here this weekend.
And with the signs behind you, we're not so subliminal with trying to make people really thirsty this morning.
It's
Why
working.
why don't we turn over to questions from the media? Any questions? Yeah, Claire?
What's it like for Miller Coors to have Keselowski on a roll, not only here at New Hampshire, but like what's the feeling back at the distributorship to be able to come here for this announcement and have him be hot, hot, hot on the racetrack?
I think the great thing about his success and what he's doing this year is they basically turn into 3-hour Miller Lite commercials. So keep it up, big fella, all right?
NASCAR's not so happy about that, but it's been good for me.
Another question?
Companies coming. Hello. Hello. I don't need a.
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Companies come and go, and yet you've stayed here. What keeps you coming back, and what do you like about motorsports?
Certainly a winning relationship on both counts. Miller Lite seems to be doing really well this year across the country and also here in New Hampshire, but then even obviously Brad's successes too. So that certainly keeps the activation and the support behind the brands that much stronger year after year.
Any other questions for Brad? Yes, sir. We'll do Mike after.
Nate Ryan, USA Today Sports. For Brad, going back to that, you swept here in July. You've got a chance now, of course, to sweep the season for the Cup Series. And Jimmy Johnson was in here a minute ago and said that based on your Richmond performance, he feels like you're almost an overwhelming favorite for Sunday. But this track has had like 13 different winners. How do you assess your chances for Sunday? I mean, you guys were so strong. Do you feel like that's going to carry over? Or?
Well, I think we're definitely going to have a lot of speed. I would be surprised if we didn't, but winning here in New Hampshire isn't all about speed. You know, the strategy end seems to always come into play. I think more often than not, this turns into a bit of a fuel mileage race for whatever reason. I'm not sure why. And that can really shake it up. And it's so difficult to pass that being the fastest car here is probably more so than most other places, not always the strongest indicator of success.
Mike?
Brad, Mike Vega, Boston Globe. Just to follow up on that a little bit. When you sized up the tracks in the chase, what were those tracks that you felt like, okay, this is in my wheelhouse? And why was that? And what were the tracks that gave you cause for concern about where were where they were strategically placed, and why was that a concern for you?
Well, I think my first thought is looking through the first 6 chase races, we've won in the last 2 years at every one of them. So in that sense, I'm as comfortable as you can be. But that second bracket, as we discussed on Chase Media Day, is, you know, I think it's called the contender bracket, or I can't remember. I'm one of those contender round. But I think it should be called the heartbreak round because it's going to break someone's heart in the sense that a really good team will probably not make it through that bracket because of the random factor of Talladega and Kansas. So, you know, to answer your question, Mike, that bracket, you know, is probably the most concerning to me. And then obviously being able to perform at Homestead because, you know, the reality is with the resets, our success today means nothing more than getting us to the next round. And we have to keep it going. And we could win, you know, 9 races here in the Chase and not win Homestead and not be the champion. So, you know, Homestead and that second bracket are, I think, the biggest challenge.
Al is standing in the doorway.
Yeah, Brad, Al Pierce from Auto Week. As a former champion and the point leader, your opinion is very highly sought. Do you have any concerns about Tony's situation, that the grand jury will hear his case, that something might happen that nobody thought might happen? Do you have any insight into that right now?
I think, you know, the only concern I have is it sounds like there's a second tape that they haven't released, and I don't understand why. Beyond that, you know, it's kind of feels a little bit like a cop-out that they send it to the grand jury. But, you know, I think everybody's wishing Tony the best and supporting him, and that's probably the most important thing.
Mike, you had a follow-up?
Yes, Brad, just follow up to a question I had about what is it that makes a track your favorite track? Is it, and why does it suit you as such?
I like tracks we win at. Those are always my favorite, you know. I tell people all the time when they ask me what my favorite track is, it's always the last one I won at. And it seems like a cheesy answer, but I mean, as a driver, we're very self-serving, and right now my favorite racetrack is last week at Chicago, and a few weeks ago before we won Richmond, I would have said Loudon was my favorite racetrack. So it's time to make Loudon my new favorite racetrack again.
Jerry Jordan kicking the tires. Brad, your first championship, you weren't necessarily a favorite going in. Now you are one of the favorites going in and on a roll, as we pointed out. Is that feeling any different, and how do you perform from here?
Yeah, it does feel a little bit different. Certainly garnering more attention. I feel like we're at the second race of the chase, and we're receiving the level of attention we received last year at probably the 7th or in 2012 at probably the 7th or 8th race of the chase. So it's not different in the sense of the attention. It's different because it's so early. And I know that we have so much further to go and so much more work to do. And in that sense, it's a compliment, but it's kind of scary because you don't want to get overinflated as a team and think you've done what you need to do when there's so much work left to be done.
Go to the back.
Lee Spencer, Motorsport.com. Everybody complains about aero push and how hard it is to pass and everything, but with what you were able to do last week, is it really time to make so many drastic changes to the car for next season?
That's a tough question to answer. I mean, last week was pretty cool.
Doesn't get much better than that.
I heard Brian France sit here and say the term called Game 7 moments. And that might not have been Game 7, but if it was Game 7, I don't think you could have asked for much more. I think the key is mindset, not necessarily to undercut what we have now, but I think the mindset should always be to, never stop improving, not to steal Jimmy Johnson Lowe's slogan, but I think that's what our sport should have for a mindset. And if that guides us, then yes, the racing can be better. And that's not a dig on the racing we've had, but it can always be better. And I think we should always keep working towards that.
Lewis up front.
Yep. Lewis Frank Reuters. Brett, with the win, Paul gets an opportunity, as well as you, but to experiment. How does he tell you how far he's going? Or
I don't think from an experimentation end. The only thing that we would experiment is with something that has the potential to break. Other than that, I don't see anything. No crazy ideas, but because you want to stay in a rhythm and work with the pieces and not get lost. So it's more or less if we have a part that's a quarter of a pound lighter and like, well, we think it'll work, but we don't know. It might break in the middle of the race, and we say, I just throw it on there. Where probably last week it was the opposite mentality. You have a part that's a quarter of a pound heavier, and like, well, this we know is not going to break. So I think just that's probably the biggest change in mentality.
You got time for one more in the back?
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire Service. Similar question, but when you guys won early in the regular season, you, Junior, Harvick, all you guys talked about the freedom that gave you for the rest of the regular season. Do you feel that same sense of freedom for the next two races, or do you have to stay focused because of the rounds are coming up much more quickly?
I kind of feel exactly like we did at Richmond. We've got two races to, I don't want to say goof off, but no consequences. And that's, that's enjoyable, right? Everybody loves it when all you can do is win. It's like, getting a free lottery ticket, If you lose, it doesn't matter, and you have the potential to win something big. So we're going to have fun with it, and I think we have the ability to capitalize with it with strong cars and a great team, and hopefully pull off a sweep here.
Laura, Kevin, and Brad, thank you very much for your time. Jerry, I'll give you a final word.
Yeah, I just wanted to close out with this, and Brad pointed out Rusty Wallace winning that first race, and Kevin told a great story when we were meeting about the excitement of being at a race, and of course he's had experience at concerts and other sporting events and festivals, and he was so proud that he was able to get row 1 that day, and as you know, at a racetrack, row 1's not the best seat, so they had all the the stuff from the track on their faces, but Rusty won. They're all excited. They run to victory lane to celebrate. They get there, and of course, Tom Roberts was the PR guy at the time for him. He says, "Where's the beer?" And they said, "What do you mean, where's the beer?" Of course, they had already consumed the beer that they'd had, and he said, "Well, the host distributor is supposed to provide the victory lane beer, you know, when Rusty wins." And so they hoofed it back out to the parking lot, got more beer out of their trunk, and brought it back to victory lane. So he won't be coming from row one. He'll come down from the suite, and he probably has somebody else to bring the beer to you in victory lane, Brad. But he's ready for you on Sunday. All right.
Thanks, everyone.